All right, can we be real with each other for a second? Kind of kick back a little bit. Listen, fantasy football, it's not rocket science, okay? Anybody can do it. But I'm sick of people out there trying to reinvent the wheel just because they like to hear themselves talk. Let's make fantasy football as easy as we can. Let's start on draft day with the top 10 tips to help you have a great draft. What's going on, Headliner Nation? Jake, Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully you're all doing well out there. Welcome back to the Draft.com studios, where today we're keeping it real. We're kind of relaxing. We're just having a conversation with each other because I really want to make sure you guys absolutely dominate your drafts here in 2019. And I'm seeing a lot of channels, a lot of articles out there trying to reinvent the wheel, basically just because they like the sound of their own voice. But listen, fantasy football, it's not that hard. There's only a few things you need to do to make sure you have a successful season. That's what we're talking about today. I'm not even going to waste any time plugging our draft guide or anything else like that. This is real talk. We're just sitting back, a couple of buddies, having a discussion, making sure that we win our fantasy football leagues here in 2019. And I got 10 reasons for you to make it a whole lot easier. All right, first one's going to be careful where you get your advice. And I'm going to do air quotes here, advice from. There's a lot of people out there that refer to themselves as experts. They like to say of how many expert leagues I'm in and how many experts I'm associated with. And I'm this much of an expert and I know all of this. That should be an immediate red flag. If somebody is out there calling themselves an expert and trying to make themselves look better, it's because their work doesn't speak for itself. Over here on this channel, we're not experts. We've never called ourselves experts. We're analysts. We help supply perspective to you, the team owner, the one who's making those draft day decisions. We're just trying to make those decisions a little bit easier. We're not here to say, hey, we're better than you. And if somebody is out there doing that, it should be an automatic red flag and you should just move on to the next option. I'm not telling you that this is the only channel you should watch. I'm realist. Now, yes, would I love everybody to watch this channel? Abso-freaking-lutely, I would. But there's a lot of options out there, but just be careful. I want to see people win. At the end of the year, I want the comment section to be filled with, hey man, I won my championship. I appreciate it. Go look at a lot of the videos from last season. We get a lot of those comments, but it's not me. It's not us. It's not this team. It's you. It's the team owner. You made the decisions. We just supplied you with some information. So don't get, taken for by a used car salesman on draft day. You're the team owner. You make the decisions, and hopefully we can be a part of that. But outside of that, just be really, really careful where you get your advice from. Number 2 is going to be knowing the opponents in your league and knowing the scoring of your league. That's really important. Take a few minutes before your draft, if nothing else, and look through the scoring. Find out where you're going to get the bulk of your points from. Maybe it's a league where it's a tight end premium and you didn't realize it. Maybe tight ends get an extra point per reception. That's something you may want to know going into your draft. Is it PPR? Is it standard? What is it? Is it 4 points per touchdown, 6 points per touchdown? Whatever it is, take a look at that. It's important. And then also know the people who you're drafting with if you can. A lot of times, you can kind of gain the tendencies of the people in your leagues if you've been with them for a while. You kind of know, hey, this guy's going to take a quarterback early. I'm going to wait a little bit, stack up on my running backs, my wide receivers, and I'll grab a quarterback later. Hey, I know this guy's a huge Eagles fan. He's taking Carson Wentz super early. Keep in mind, keep in the back of your mind all these things for the individual players in your league because it could really help you down the stretch in your draft to really plan on some later round picks. Number 3 is going to be paying attention to early season strength of schedules. I get a lot of questions like, wow, aren't you worried about their week 16 matchup? No, I'm not, because I got 15 weeks before I even get to week 16. I want to start off on the right track. I want to start off my year winning games. I'm looking for those guys who have that better schedule earlier in the season. So much can happen. Yes, Patrick Mahomes plays the Bears at the end of the year, possibly in your fantasy championship, but what if Khalil Mack is hurt by then? What if they have multiple injuries on that defense by then and it's not the same Bears defense that it is going into the season? Things could be drastically different. Look at the start of the season. check out the matchups to begin it. That's where you really want to start making a run. You want to solidify your team with a good foundation and get off to a good start. If you can go out there, rattle off 3, 4, 5 wins straight to start your season, it only betters your chances the farther you get in the season to get to the playoffs. A lot can happen. A lot can change throughout the course of a season. A lot of players may be new on your roster come postseason than they were during the draft. That's what you have to do to be successful, but get off to a good start. It's super important. Number 4, don't lock yourself into certain positions in certain rounds. We talk about this a lot also. Jake, should I go running back, or should I go running back, receiver, running back? What should I do? You shouldn't do any of that. You should take what the draft gives you. Don't lock yourself into a certain position in a certain round, because look at it this way. Maybe you're the 11th pick in the first round, and you're like, Jake, who should I take? Well, in my mind, ADP-wise, you got the Nick Chubbs and Odell Beckhams, maybe Julio Jones, whatever it may be there. That may be who I say, hey, that's who I would go after. But what happens if in that league, Davante Adams falls? Are you going to pass over him just because we talked about somebody else later on? No, you're not. You're going to take who falls to you, the best player available. Now, yes, by a certain point in the draft, usually by round 4, I would prefer to have at least 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers. That's a preference. However, if studs continue to fall to me to make my team elite in other places, I'm going to say thank you, I'm going to draft them, and I'm going to continue to move on. You have to be agile on draft day if you want the best team possible. Number 5, don't fall for early quarterbacks. It happens in almost every single league, right? There's going to be somebody that goes out there and reaches for Mahomes or Luck or Watson or Rodgers or somebody. They're going to reach early. It's going to happen, but don't. There are so many viable starting quarterbacks this season, it's not worth it. Those guys, when they take those early round quarterbacks, all that means is you're going to get added depth at the skill positions, the running backs, the wide receivers, the depth that you're really going to need. There are so many starting quarterbacks in fantasy football this year that are really, really viable. I mean, heck, Jared Goff is going in the double-digit rounds, and he could have some huge weeks. Just think, if Gurley doesn't play 100% of the time that he did last year, they're going to rely more on the pass. Jared Goff could easily go out there and throw for over 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, and I would gladly take that in the double-digit rounds while I still got my extra depth at running back and wide receiver earlier when everybody's taking those quarterbacks. So if they start going off the board, don't freak out. There's plenty to go around for everybody. Next up is pay attention to the other teams in the league that are drafting. I mean, you can kind of base your next pick if you know what these teams already have. Hey, this guy's already got a tight end. I know he's not taking tight end. Maybe I can wait. So maybe you find yourself coming back around on this second round, third round turn, and you're the second to last pick, and then you'll be the second pick in the third. And you know he's already got a tight end. He's not going to take another one, but you really want one. You don't have to take him there in the second because he's not going to take another one. Wait, take somebody else in the second, another solid, solidified stud running back or receiver. Come back and get your tight end the next round. Pay attention to the other teams around you. A lot of times, the way they're constructing their roster can give you a heads up of where their mind is at and maybe where they will be drafting in the future. That is a huge, huge thing to do. Just because you may be on the clock doesn't mean you can't be paying attention to all the other teams that are currently drafting. Stacking. I get a lot of questions about stacking. What do we think about stacking quarterbacks with elite wide receivers? I don't mind it whatsoever, as long as there's value involved in it. I mean, you could do a lot of great stacks out there, like maybe a Julio and a Matt Ryan, maybe an Odell and a Baker Mayfield if Baker falls in the draft. I mean, there's a lot of great options, but am I really on board with a Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes stack? Not really, because I got to take him in the first, second, or third. I don't want that much. That's not great value for me on draft day. Maybe a Big Ben late and a Juju in the second. That's a little bit better to me in my opinion. I don't mind stacking. I would really rather not prefer to have a quarterback, running back, and wide receiver all from the same team, because if they have an off day, more than likely your week is absolutely shot. I try to limit it to only 2 players from one team at a time, never 2 players from the same position. Like I would not want Brandon Cooks and Robert Woods as my wide receiver 1 and 2. Stacking with value, though, has its upsides. All right, it's the late rounds. Now it's time to take a little bit of a risk. We kind of want to limit risk in the early rounds, but in the later rounds, try to find those lottery tickets. They're out there. Every single year, there's players that are drafted towards the ends of drafts that really help carry teams. I mean, think about it. Philip Lindsay last year was undrafted in a lot of leagues. James White may have been undrafted in a lot of leagues. These guys are huge producers for fantasy football that had very, very little draft capital. I guarantee you those names are out there again this year. Take a couple stabs. Maybe the starter is a little bit banged up and you can go in there, grab the number 2 during your draft. You never know. If the starter misses time, now all of a sudden you have somebody with some higher upside that you didn't invest a high draft pick in. Take a little bit of risk late in drafts. That's the time to do it, because if you hit the lottery, it may help you win your league. All right, this is one of the last tips, and this really depends when is your draft. I mean, if you're drafting literally a couple days before the season starts, this may not apply to you. But if you're drafting now all the way up until the 3rd or 4th week of August, this applies to you. I'm not drafting a kicker or a defense. Either one. Nada. I don't care about the last rounds or nothing. I'm taking those extra lottery tickets. I'm trying to find that extra guy that has that potential to really develop into a big spot come the start of the season. If they don't, you didn't invest anything but a late round pick anyway, and you can go pick up a kicker and a defense off the waiver wire for week 1. A lot of times, a lot of people, they just stream kickers and defenses all year long. Wasting an early round draft pick on a defense that may go out there and get 1 injury, 2 injuries, whatever it may be, and it ruins it, you lose out on a lot of depth for your team. Hold off. Wait till the end. Take some extra position players with huge upside, and then if nothing happens right before week 1 starts, then just go pick up your kicker, your defense, stream them all season long. You're not going to be behind the 8 ball. It's a great strategy. You should at least try it. Lastly, just stay calm. Don't forget, you're not going to lose your fantasy football season on draft day. Even if all your friends are ragging you, they're saying, hey man, your team blows. Don't worry about it yet. Don't go in there and just blow it up. A lot can happen during your fantasy football season. There's always those studs that are found on the waiver wire. We're going to be having waiver wire shows every single week coming out right after the week is over. We're going to help you find those hidden gems that can really help improve your fantasy football team. So if you're not happy after draft day, take a deep breath. Don't stress out. Get yourself an ice cold beverage because it's going to be okay. We're going all the way to the playoffs this year, and we're going to help you do it. All right, so those are 10 things that I really wanted to put out there for you guys to really help you have a better draft here in 2019. But there's a lot of other things out there, and maybe you have questions. Put it down below in the comment section. We're here to help you out. We're here to try to talk you through some of these tough decisions come your fantasy football draft time. You guys can tell we're one of the most interactive channels on YouTube. I mean, it's apparent. If you go to any of our videos, you see that we reply to 99% of every comment, question, concern that is left. And we also like to take, the opinions of the viewers into account in our videos. You can see a lot of times we'll get a comment down below, hey, can you make a video on this? And then a week later, there's a video on that. We try to really be in touch with the community. We're trying to build a community. We're not trying to just be a couple of guys up here talking football that we expect everybody to listen to us with. This is an interactive community, and it's going to stay like that forever. That's what Headliner Nation is all about. So make sure you throw that comment down below. If I gave you any great information, please do me a favor. Hit the like button. They greatly help us out here on YouTube. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your week. Go check out our website, fantasyheadliners.com. A lot of other great information over there. But we appreciate you over here. Have a great rest of your week. We'll talk to you later.